One tweet changed everything. When the world's richest man casually mentioned eating just one meal a day during his early career, millions of followers saw it as the ultimate productivity hack. Within hours, young entrepreneurs and college students began copying his optimization strategy. But what started as inspiration quickly turned into a medical emergency, as hospitals across the country filled with people who had taken Musk's advice too far. What none of them knew was that behind Musk's casual words lay a dark secret. A year of genuine hunger that had broken his relationship with food forever. A secret that would take one determined journalist on a journey across the country to uncover the devastating truth behind Silicon Valley's most dangerous success story. Maya Chen's eyes burned as she stared at her laptop screen. The blue light made her small San Francisco apartment feel like a cave. Empty coffee cups sat on her desk like tiny monuments to another sleepless night. It was 2:47 a.m. on March 15, 2024. Maya should have been sleeping. Instead, she was scrolling through Twitter, looking for her next big story. As a freelance tech journalist, she lived on scraps, small articles about app updates, boring interviews with startup founders, nothing that would pay her rent or make her famous. Her phone buzzed. A new tweet from Elon Musk appeared on her timeline. Sometimes I forget to eat for days. Back in my PayPal days, lived on one meal every 24 hours for months. The human body is more resilient than we think. Optimization focus. Maya blinked. She read it again, then a third time. Within seconds, the replies started flooding in. Heart emojis, fire emojis, people calling Musk a genius, others saying he was crazy. Maya watched the numbers climb. 50 replies, 100, 500. This guy is insane, she whispered to herself. But something about the tweet bothered her. It wasn't just the words. It was how casual Musk sounded about it. Like forgetting to eat was normal. Like starving yourself was smart. Maya grabbed her notebook and wrote down the tweet word for word. She had covered tech news for 5 years. She knew when something felt off. Her phone buzzed again. Another reply to Musk's tweet caught her eye. It was from Dr. Sarah Hendricks, a nutrition scientist at Stanford University. This isn't optimization, this is concerning. I've seen this pattern before. Maya's heart started beating faster. A real scientist was worried about Elon Musk's eating habits. This could be something big. She clicked on Dr. Hendricks' profile. The woman was real. She worked at Stanford. She studied how stress affects eating. Maya bookmarked the profile and kept scrolling. More replies kept coming. Some people were already saying they would try Musk's one-meal-a-day plan. College students, young entrepreneurs, people who looked up to him. "Oh no," Maya said out loud. She had covered stories about dangerous internet trends before. The Ice Bucket Challenge was fun, but this was different. This was about not eating. That could hurt people. Maya opened a new document on her laptop. She started typing notes about the tweet, the time it was posted, how many likes it got, the types of people replying. But as she typed, something else nagged at her. She had read about Musk's work habits before. The stories about him sleeping at Tesla factories, working 100-hour weeks, never taking vacations. She opened Google and typed Elon Musk eating habits history. Most results were boring. Articles about his diet preferences, stories about business lunches, nothing useful. Then she found something interesting. An old interview from 1999, Musk was talking about starting X.com, which later became PayPal. The interviewer asked about the hardest part of building a company. 1999 was probably the hardest year of my life, Musk had said. I can't really talk about it, but it changed everything. Maya sat up straight. The hardest year of his life. What happened in 1999 and why couldn't he talk about it? She searched for more information about that time period. She found business articles about X.com's early struggles. Photos of a much younger Musk looking thin and tired. But no details about what made 1999 so hard. Maya looked at the clock. It was 3:15 a.m. She should go to sleep. She had a small article due tomorrow about a boring app update. But she couldn't stop thinking about that 1999 quote. And about Dr. Hendricks' worried reply. And about all those people saying they wanted to copy Musk's eating habits. She picked up her phone and started scrolling through Musk's old tweets. Maybe there were other clues about his relationship with food, his work habits, his health. After 20 minutes of searching, she found another interesting tweet from 6 months ago. Musk had posted a photo of himself at 3 a.m. in a Tesla factory. He looked exhausted. The caption said, "Sleep is for the weak. Dinner is optional. Progress is everything." Maya screenshot the tweet and added it to her notes. Then she found another one from last year. A reply to someone asking about work-life balance. "Balance is overrated. Obsession is underrated. I haven't taken a real vacation in 15 years." More screenshots. More notes. By 4 a.m., Maya had filled 6 pages with information about Musk's extreme work habits. His comments about sleep, his casual mentions of skipping meals, his obsession with productivity. She leaned back in her chair and rubbed her tired eyes. A pattern was forming. This wasn't just about one tweet. This was about a lifestyle that Musk had been living for decades. A lifestyle that millions of people now wanted to copy. Maya thought about her own life. She worked constantly. She often forgot to eat when chasing a story. She survived on coffee and granola bars most days. Was she just like the people who wanted to copy Musk? The thought scared her. She looked at her rent bill sitting on her desk. $2,800 due in 2 weeks. She had maybe $800 in her bank account. She needed a big story, something that would get picked up by major news sites. Something that would finally make her career take off. Maya stared at her notes about Musk's eating habits. About that mysterious hard year in 1999. About Dr. Hendricks' concern. About young people already planning to copy his dangerous patterns. This could be it. Her big break. She opened a new email and started typing to her editor at TechCrunch. "Hi Jake. I think I found our next big story. It's about Elon Musk, but not what you'd expect. It's about the hidden cost of his success. And it might be more dangerous than anyone realizes." Maya hit send before she could change her mind. Then she closed her laptop and finally went to bed. But she couldn't sleep. Her mind was spinning with questions. What happened to Elon Musk in 1999? Why was it so hard to talk about? And what would she find if she started digging deeper into the real story behind his success? She had no idea that finding those answers would take her on a journey across the country. Or that it would reveal a secret that had been hidden for over 20 years. A secret that would change how the world saw Elon Musk forever. Maya's phone rang at 7 a.m., jolting her awake after only 3 hours of sleep. "Maya, what the hell is this email about?" Jake Morrison's voice crackled through the speaker. Her editor at TechCrunch sounded excited and annoyed at the same time. "The Musk story," Maya mumbled, still half asleep. "Did you see his tweet last night?" "I saw it. The whole internet saw it. But what makes you think there's a bigger story here?" Maya sat up in bed, suddenly wide awake. Because something doesn't add up. He mentioned his PayPal days, like it was no big deal. But I found an old interview where he said 1999 was the hardest year of his life, and he couldn't talk about it. Jake was quiet for a moment. "Okay, I'm listening." And there's a Stanford scientist who replied to his tweet. "She's worried about his eating patterns." "Jake, people are already saying they want to copy what he's doing. What if this hurts someone?" "Fine," Jake said. "You have 1 week. If you can find a real story, we'll run it. But Maya, this better not be another wild goose chase." The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone. 1 week. She had 1 week to find out what really happened to Elon Musk in his early days. She made coffee and opened her laptop. First, she needed to find people who actually knew Musk during the PayPal years. People who were there when he was eating 1 meal a day. Maya spent the morning researching former PayPal employees on LinkedIn. She made a list of 20 names. Engineers, managers, assistants. Anyone who might have worked closely with Musk. Between 1999 and 2000. Most of them didn't respond to her messages. Some said they couldn't talk due to old agreements. Others just ignored her. But at 2 p.m., her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I saw your LinkedIn message. I worked with Elon at PayPal. I can't talk on the phone. But if you're really writing about this, we should meet. Carlo." Maya's heart jumped. Carlos Rivera. She had found him on LinkedIn. He was now a venture capitalist in Palo Alto. His profile said he worked at PayPal from night. She texted back immediately. I can drive down today, where should we meet? Cafe Venetia on University Ave, 4 p.m. I'll be wearing a blue jacket. Maya grabbed her keys and drove south to Palo Alto. The traffic on Highway 101 was terrible, but she didn't care. This was her first real lead. Cafe Venetia was busy with Stanford students and tech workers. Maya spotted Carlos right away. He was in his late 40s with graying hair and tired eyes. He looked nervous. You're the journalist? He asked when Maya sat down. Maya Chen. Thanks for meeting me. Carlos ordered coffee with shaking hands. I shouldn't be doing this. But when I saw Elon's tweet last night, all the memories came back. And then I saw people saying they wanted to copy him. That scared me. What do you remember about his eating habits back then? Carlos was quiet for a long moment. He stared out the window at the busy street. The dot-com bubble was bursting. He finally said, everyone was losing money. Companies were shutting down every week. PayPal was burning through cash like crazy. He took a sip of his coffee. Elon was obsessed. I've never seen anyone work like that. He would come in at 7 a.m. and still be there when I left at midnight. Sometimes I'd come in the next morning and he'd still be at his desk. Did he eat during those long days? That's the thing. We'd order pizza for the team. Chinese food. Whatever. There would always be extra food around the office. But Elon would just forget. He'd be so focused on code or business plans that he wouldn't notice he was hungry. Carlos leaned forward. I started keeping protein bars in my desk drawer. Not for me, for him. I'd see him looking pale or shaky during meetings. And I'd slide a protein bar across the table. Maya wrote everything down. How often did this happen? Every day for months. From late 1999 through most of 2001. The company was in crisis mode. We had competitors trying to steal our customers. We had technical problems. The payment system would crash and Elon would personally fix it, working for 20 hours straight. Did anyone else notice? Carlos nodded. Everyone noticed. But what could we do? He was our CEO. And honestly, we were all scared the company would fail. If Elon said working 18 hours without eating would save PayPal, we believed him. Maya thought about her next question carefully. Carlos, did Elon ever get sick during this time? Carlos's face changed. He looked uncomfortable. Why do you ask? In that 1999 interview, he said it was the hardest year of his life but couldn't talk about it. I'm wondering if something happened. Carlos was quiet for a long time. People chatted and laughed around them, but their table felt heavy with silence. There was one incident. Carlos finally said. December 1999. We were trying to fix a major security bug before Christmas. Elon had been at the office for 3 days straight, maybe 4. I honestly don't know when he last went home. What happened? I found him on the floor of his office. He had passed out. There was an empty energy drink can next to him. That was all he'd had in who knows how long. Maya's pen stopped moving. He collapsed from not eating? We think so. I called 911. The paramedics came and checked him out. His blood sugar was really low. They wanted to take him to the hospital, but Elon refused. He said we had to fix the bug first. Did he go to the hospital later? Carlos shrugged. I don't know. He took the next day off, which was weird for him, but he never talked about it. None of us did. It was like it never happened. Maya felt her pulse quicken. This was bigger than she thought. Carlos, do you think Elon had an eating disorder? I don't know about that, Carlos said. But I know his relationship with food wasn't normal. He seemed to think eating was a waste of time. Like his body was just a machine that sometimes needed fuel, and he resented having to stop and refuel it. Carlos checked his watch. I have to go. But Maya, there's someone else you should talk to. Rebecca Torres. She was Elon's assistant during the worst of it. If anyone knows what really happened, it would be her. He slid a piece of paper across the table with a phone number. Tell her I sent you. And Maya. Yeah? Be careful with this story. Elon Musk is one of the most powerful people in the world now. If you're going to write about his private struggles, make sure you get it right. Carlos left Maya sitting alone with her notes and a phone number. She looked at what she had written. 18-hour workdays. Forgetting to eat for days. collapsing from low blood sugar, refusing medical help. This wasn't optimization. This wasn't some brilliant life hack. This was a man who had nearly worked himself to death. Maya called Rebecca Torres from the parking lot. "Hello?" A woman's voice answered. "Hi, is this Rebecca Torres? My name is Maya Chen. I'm a journalist, and Carlos Rivera said I should talk to you about working with Elon Musk at PayPal." There was a long pause. "Carlos gave you my number?" "Yes. I'm writing a story about Mr. Musk's work habits during the early PayPal days. Carlos said you might have some insights." Another pause. "I can't talk on the phone about this. But if you want to drive up Sacramento tomorrow, we can meet for coffee. There are some things you should know." Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "What kind of things?" "The kind of things that explain why Elon's tweet last night scared me so much," Rebecca said. "The kind of things that might save some young entrepreneur from making the same mistakes." Rebecca gave Maya an address and hung up. Maya sat in her car, staring at her notes. She had started this investigation thinking she'd find an interesting story about work-life balance. Instead, she was uncovering something much darker. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jake. "How's the Musk story coming?" Maya typed back, "I think we might need more than a week." Maya drove through Sacramento's morning traffic, thinking about her conversation with Rebecca Torres. They had agreed to meet at a small cafe near the state capitol building. Maya arrived 15 minutes early and ordered coffee, her stomach tight with nerves. Rebecca walked in exactly on time. She was a woman in her 50s with short gray hair and kind eyes that looked worried. She spotted Maya immediately. "You're the journalist?" Rebecca asked, sitting down across from her. "Thank you for meeting me," Maya said. "Carlos said you worked as Elon's assistant during the PayPal years." Rebecca nodded slowly. "From 2000 to 2002. Those were difficult times. Carlos told me about Elon's eating habits. About him collapsing in December." "That wasn't the only time," Rebecca said quietly. "Carlos probably didn't know about the others. I was the one who found Elon most of the time." Maya opened her notebook. "Can you tell me what you saw?" Rebecca stared at her coffee cup. "Elon was brilliant, but he was also broken, I think. He would work for days without stopping. I'd bring him food and it would sit on his desk until it spoiled. I started just throwing the old meals away and bringing new ones. How often did this happen? Every few weeks he'd push himself too far. I'd find him passed out at his desk or in the conference room or once in the bathroom. Always the same thing. He hadn't eaten in days." Maya wrote quickly. "Did you call doctors?" "The first few times, yes, but Elon hated that. He said it was a waste of time. He made me promise to stop calling paramedics unless he was actually dying." Rebecca's voice got quieter. "Looking back, I think he might have been closer to dying than any of us realized." Maya felt a chill. "What do you mean?" "In 2001, during our worst financial crisis, Elon lost a scary amount of weight. His clothes hung loose on him. His hands would shake during meetings. One day, I walked into his office and he was staring at a sandwich I'd brought him 3 hours earlier. He looked at me and said, 'I forgot how to be hungry.'" He forgot how to be hungry? That's what he said. Like his body had stopped telling him when he needed food. It was the saddest thing I'd ever heard. Maya thought about her own eating habits. How she often forgot to eat when chasing a story. But Elon's situation sounded much worse. "Rebecca, did anyone try to help him?" "I tried. Other employees tried. But Elon was the CEO. He was our boss. And honestly, PayPal was in real trouble. We were losing money every month. Competitors were trying to destroy us. If Elon said he needed to work 18 hours a day to save the company, who were we to argue?" Rebecca took a sip of her coffee. But there was one person who really worried about him. Dr. Justine Wilson. She was dating Elon at the time. Now she's Justine Musk, his first wife. Maya perked up. "Did you ever talk to her about Elon's health?" "A few times. She would call the office looking for him. I'd have to tell her he'd been there for 2 days straight. She'd get so frustrated. One time she said, 'He's gonna kill himself trying to save this company.'" Maya wrote down Justine's name. Maybe she could track down Elon's first wife for an interview. "Rebecca, what happened after PayPal was sold to eBay?" "And I thought things would get better for Elon. He made a lot of money from the sale. He could finally relax, you know." But then he started SpaceX. Rebecca shook her head. If his eating habits were bad during PayPal, they got worse at SpaceX. Much worse. Maya's heart sank. How do you know? I stayed in touch with some of the early SpaceX employees. Tom Martinez was an engineer there from the beginning. He used to call me sometimes, worried about Elon. Tom said the rocket failures were destroying him. Maya thought about what she knew of SpaceX's early history. 3 failed launches before their first success. Each failure cost millions of dollars and months of work. Do you have Tom's contact information? Rebecca nodded and wrote down a phone number. He lives in Los Angeles now. But Maya, when you talk to him, remember that those were dark times for Elon. The rocket failures nearly broke him. Maya finished her coffee and gathered her notes. As she was leaving, Rebecca grabbed her arm. Maya, can I ask why you're writing this story? Because of Elon's tweet. Young people are already saying they want to copy his eating habits. I think they need to know the real story. Rebecca smiled sadly. Good. Because the real story isn't about optimization or focus. It's about a man who almost died trying to change the world. Maya drove back to San Francisco thinking about Rebecca's words. When she got home, she immediately called Tom Martinez. Hello? A man's voice answered. Hi. Is this Tom Martinez? My name is Maya Chen. I'm a journalist writing about Elon Musk's early years. Rebecca Torres gave me your number. Rebecca? I haven't talked to her in years. What's this about? Maya explained her investigation. Tom was quiet for a long moment. You know what? I've been waiting for someone to write this story. Can you come to Los Angeles? There are some things I need to show you. 2 days later, Maya was sitting in Tom's living room in Manhattan Beach. Tom was a thin man in his 40s with calloused hands and tired eyes. His walls were covered with photos from the early SpaceX days. I worked at SpaceX from 2002 to 2008, Tom began. The Hawthorne facility. Those were the hardest years of my career, and probably the worst years of Elon's life. Tom pulled out a photo album. Look at these pictures from our first rocket launch. Maya looked at the photos. There was Elon Musk, much younger, standing next to a tall rocket on a small island. But he looked terrible. His face was gaunt. His clothes hung loose. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. This was taken on Omelek Island in the Marshall Islands. Tom explained. Our first Falcon 1 launch attempt. We'd been working for 4 years to get to this moment. What happened? The rocket exploded 25 seconds after launch. Engine fire. We lost everything. Tom flipped to another photo. This one showed Musk sitting alone on the beach, staring at the ocean. He looked completely defeated. I took this picture the night after the failure. Elon hadn't eaten in 2 days. He wouldn't talk to anyone. He just sat there staring at the water. Maya studied the photo. She could see the pain in Musk's face. Did it get better after that? Tom laughed bitterly. It got worse. We had 2 more failures. March 2007 and August 2008. Each time, Elon would go into what we called hermit mode. What's hermit mode? He'd disappear into his office for days. The door would be locked. We'd leave food outside, but most of it would go untouched. We could hear him inside working on calculations, making phone calls to investors. But he wouldn't come out. Tom showed Maya more photos. In each one, Musk looked thinner and more exhausted. After the 3rd failure in August 2008, I honestly thought Elon might have a complete breakdown. SpaceX was almost out of money. We had maybe one more chance to make it work. If the 4th launch failed, the company would be finished. How did Elon handle that pressure? Badly. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating regular meals. I found him on the factory floor at 3 a.m. once, trying to personally inspect every part of the rocket. He looked like he hadn't seen sunlight in weeks. Tom pulled out his phone and showed Maya a text message from, I sent this to my wife during that time. It says, Elon looks like a ghost. I'm worried he's going to collapse before we even get to launch. Maya read the message. The timestamp showed it was sent on September 20, just 8 days before SpaceX's 4th launch attempt. What happened on launch day? Tom's face lit up for the first time during their conversation. It worked. The rocket reached orbit. We'd finally done it. But Maya, I'll never forget what Elon looked like in that moment. What do you mean? When we got confirmation that the rocket was in orbit, everyone was cheering and celebrating. But Elon just stood there, crying. Not happy tears. Exhausted tears. Like he'd given everything he had just to get to that moment. Tom put away his phone. That launch saved SpaceX. But I sometimes wonder what it cost Elon personally. He was never the same after those early years. Maya looked at her notes. She had filled 12 pages with stories about Musk's declining health during the SpaceX struggles. Tom, do you think Elon was aware of how his eating habits affected his work? I think he saw his body as an obstacle to overcome. Like hunger was just another engineering problem to solve. He thought if he could ignore it long enough, it would go away. But it didn't go away.
No, it got worse!
And Maya, that's why his tweet the other night scared me. Because I know what happens when someone with his influence talks about extreme habits like they're normal. Tom walked Maya to the door. There's something else you should know. After SpaceX started succeeding, Elon didn't slow down. He started Tesla's mass production push. From what I heard, his eating habits got even worse during those years. Maya felt her stomach drop. Worse than almost dying during rocket failures. That's what I heard. You should talk to someone who was there during Tesla's production hell. Those stories make the SpaceX years look easy. As Maya drove back to San Francisco, she thought about everything she'd learned. Elon Musk hadn't just forgotten to eat a few times. He had spent years systematically destroying his relationship with food, pushing his body to dangerous limits in pursuit of his goals. And according to Tom, it had only gotten worse from there. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Jake. Where are we on the Musk story? She typed back, I need to go to Tesla next. This is bigger than we thought. Maya's phone rang at 6 a.m. the next morning. She grabbed it without looking at the caller ID. Maya, we need to talk. It was Jake, her editor. He sounded stressed. What's wrong? Maya asked, still half asleep. Legal called. They're worried about the Musk story. They want to know exactly what you're planning to write. Maya sat up in bed. I'm just gathering facts from people who worked with him. Everything is on the record. That's not the problem. The problem is that Elon Musk has an army of lawyers. If we get this wrong, they could destroy us. Maya felt her stomach drop. Are you telling me to stop? No, I'm telling you to be extra careful. Make sure everything you write can be proven. And Maya, you better find something really important, because this story is getting expensive. After Jake hung up, Maya stared at the ceiling. She had spent 3 days traveling and interviewing people. She was using her own money for gas and hotel rooms. Her rent was due in 10 days, and she still had almost nothing in her bank account. But she couldn't stop now. Not when she was so close to understanding what really happened to Elon Musk. Maya made coffee and opened her laptop. She needed to find someone who worked at Tesla during what people called production hell, the period when Tesla was struggling to mass-produce the Model 3. She spent the morning researching former Tesla employees on LinkedIn. Most of their profiles were locked down tight. Tesla was famous for making employees sign strict agreements about not talking to reporters. But Maya found one profile that looked promising. Diana Chang had worked as a production supervisor at Tesla's Fremont factory from 2007 to 2018. Her profile was public, and it showed she now worked for a different car company. Maya sent Diana a careful message explaining her investigation. She didn't expect a response, but 2 hours later her phone buzzed. I saw your message about Elon's health during the Tesla years. I can't talk on LinkedIn, but if you're serious about this story, we should meet. There are things people need to know. Diana. Maya drove to Fremont that afternoon. Diana had suggested they meet at a small diner near the old Tesla factory. Maya arrived early and ordered coffee, her hands shaking with nerves. Diana walked in exactly on time. She was a woman in her 40s with short black hair and tired eyes that looked familiar. Maya had seen the same expression in Rebecca and Tom, people who had watched someone they cared about slowly destroy himself. You're writing about Elon's eating habits? Diana asked, sitting down. I'm trying to understand the real story behind his success, how his work patterns affected his health. Diana was quiet for a moment. I worked at Tesla for 11 years. I saw Elon at his best and his worst. The worst was during Model 3 production. Can you tell me what you saw? Diana stirred her coffee slowly. This was 2017 and 2018. Tesla was trying to produce thousands of cars every week. The factory was running 24 hours a day. Everyone was under incredible pressure. Where was Elon during this time? Everywhere. He would sleep on the factory floor, work 18-hour shifts. I'd find him at 3 a.m., personally inspecting car parts, or yelling at engineers about production problems. Diana pulled out her phone and showed Maya a photo. It was timestamped 3:17 a.m. on June 15, 2018. The photo showed Musk lying on a piece of cardboard next to an assembly line, using his jacket as a pillow. I took this picture because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The CEO of Tesla was sleeping on the factory floor like a homeless person. Maya stared at the photo. Musk looked exhausted and thin. Did he eat during these long shifts? That's the thing that worried me most. I would bring him sandwiches or protein bars when I saw him looking shaky. But most of the time, the food would just sit there until someone threw it away. Diana leaned forward. One night in July 2018, I found him standing in front of a vending machine at 2 a.m. He was just staring at it, holding a dollar bill. I asked if he was okay, and he said, "I can't remember if I ate dinner yesterday or the day before." Maya wrote quickly. How often did this happen? Every few days during the worst months. I started keeping a mental note of when I'd seen him eat. Sometimes 3 or 4 days would go by with nothing but coffee and energy drinks. Did anyone try to help him? Diana nodded. The production team started taking turns bringing him food. We had an unofficial schedule, but Elon would get so focused on fixing problems that he'd forget the food was there. Was there a particular incident that worried you? Diana's face changed. She looked uncomfortable. There was one night in August 2018. Tesla was supposed to hit our production target that week. If we failed, the stock price would crash and the company might go bankrupt. What happened? I was working a late shift, and I heard shouting from the main assembly area. I went to check, and there was Elon, yelling at a group of engineers about a problem with the car doors. But he wasn't making sense. His words were slurred. He was swaying on his feet. Maya stopped writing. Was he drunk? No. I think his blood sugar was dangerously low. One of the engineers asked if he was okay, and Elon just collapsed, right there on the factory floor. Did you call paramedics? I started to, but Elon woke up before I could dial. He was furious that I was holding my phone. He made everyone promise not to call for help. He said if word got out that he'd collapsed, it would destroy Tesla's stock price. Maya felt sick. So nobody called for medical help? We got him some orange juice and made him sit down for 20 minutes. But as soon as his hands stopped shaking, he went right back to work. Diana showed Maya another photo on her phone. This one was taken the next morning. It showed Musk at a press conference, announcing that Tesla had hit its production target. He was wearing a suit and smiling, but Maya could see the exhaustion in his eyes. He gave that press conference 12 hours after collapsing on the factory floor. Diana said, nobody watching would have known he'd almost passed out from not eating. Maya thought about all the news coverage from that time. Stories about Musk's genius, his ability to save Tesla from bankruptcy, his incredible work ethic. Diana, did other employees know about these incidents? Some did. But Tesla was famous for making people sign agreements about not talking to reporters. And honestly, most of us were scared we'd lose our jobs if we said anything. Why are you talking to me now? Diana was quiet for a moment. Because I saw Elon's tweet the other night about eating 1 meal a day being optimization. And I saw young people saying they wanted to copy him. She leaned forward. Maya, what Elon did wasn't optimization. It was self-destruction. I watched him nearly kill himself trying to save Tesla. If some college student copies his eating habits and ends up in the hospital, I'll never forgive myself for staying quiet. Maya closed her notebook. She had enough material for her story, but she felt sick thinking about what she'd learned. Diana, is there anyone else I should talk to? Anyone who might have more information about this time period? You should try to find Martin Eberhard. He was one of Tesla's founders, but he and Elon had a big fight. Martin might be willing to talk about the pressure Elon was under. Diana also gave Maya the contact information for Antonio Gracias, who was on Tesla's board of directors during the worst periods. Antonio was one of the few people who could actually tell Elon to slow down. If anyone tried to intervene about his health, it would have been him. As Maya walked to her car, Diana called after her. "Maya, be careful with this story, but also please make sure people understand the real cost of what Elon accomplished. Success isn't always what it looks like from the outside." Maya drove home, thinking about Diana's photos. The image of Musk sleeping on cardboard. The press conference 12 hours after collapsing. The vending machine where he couldn't remember his last meal. When she got home, she found an email from Jake. "Legal wants to see your notes before you write anything. Also, how much more time do you need?" Maya looked at her research. She had interviews with 5 people who had witnessed Musk's declining health over nearly 20 years. She had photos and documentation. She had a clear pattern of behavior that had gotten worse over time. But she also had a growing fear that she was in over her head. Elon Musk wasn't just any CEO. He was one of the most powerful people in the world. His companies were worth hundreds of billions of dollars. His fans worshipped him like a hero. What would happen when she published a story saying their hero had nearly killed himself multiple times? What would happen her career if Musk's lawyers came after her? Maya opened a new document and started typing her article. But her hands were shaking as she wrote the first sentence. Elon Musk's recent tweet about living on 1 meal a day isn't about optimization. It's about a pattern of self-destructive behavior that nearly killed him multiple times over the past 20 years. She stared at the words on her screen. Once she published this story, there would be no going back. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I heard you're writing about Elon's health. We should talk. There are things you don't know yet." A friend. Maya stared at the message. Who was texting her? How did they know about her investigation? And what else was there to discover about Elon Musk's secret struggle with food and health? Maya stared at the mysterious text message for 10 minutes before deciding to ignore it. She had enough sources already. What she needed now was to focus on writing her story. But first, she wanted to see how Musk's original tweet was affecting people in real time. She opened Twitter and searched for posts mentioning Musk's 1 meal a day comment. What she found made her stomach drop. Hundreds of people were already trying to copy his eating pattern. College students posted photos of their single daily meals with hashtags like Elon optimization and 1 meal challenge. Young entrepreneurs shared stories about how they were going to unlock their potential by eating less. Maya screenshot dozens of the posts. A 19-year-old from UCLA. Day 3 of the Elon diet. Feeling focused and powerful. A startup founder from Austin. If 1 meal a day is good enough for the richest man in the world, it's good enough for me. But other posts worried her more. A college student in Boston. Haven't eaten in 18 hours following Elon's advice. Feel dizzy but pushing through. A young woman in Seattle. Day 5 of eating like Elon. My friends say I look thin, but I think I look successful. Maya kept scrolling and found something that made her heart race. Dr. Rachel Kim, an eating disorder specialist at UCLA, had posted a long thread warning about the dangers of copying Musk's eating habits. I've had 3 patients this week mention Elon Musk's tweet about 1 meal a day. This is extremely concerning. Severe calorie restriction can trigger eating disorders, especially in young people. Dr. Kim's thread continued. What successful people call optimization can actually be signs of serious health problems. Please don't copy extreme eating patterns just because someone famous does them. Maya immediately sent Dr. Kim a direct message asking for an interview. To her surprise, Dr. Kim responded within an hour. I can talk tomorrow at 2 p.m. This is urgent. I'm seeing more patients every day who think starving themselves will make them successful. The next day, Maya drove to UCLA Medical Center. Dr. Kim's office was small and filled with medical textbooks. Dr. Kim herself was a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a worried expression. Thank you for reaching out, Dr. Kim said. I've been hoping someone would investigate this story. What are you seeing in your patients? Since Musk's tweet went viral, I've had 12 new patients mention his eating habits. Young people who think skipping meals will make them more focused and productive. Dr. Kim pulled out a folder. Can I share some details without using names? Maya nodded. Patient A is a 20-year-old Stanford student studying computer science. He read about Musk's one meal a day approach and decided to try it. After 2 weeks, he fainted during a midterm exam. His roommates brought him to the emergency room. Maya wrote quickly. What was wrong with him? Severe dehydration and dangerously low blood sugar. He'd been surviving on coffee and energy drinks, eating one small meal every 24 hours. His body was shutting down. Dr. Kim opened another file. Patient B is a 22-year-old woman who started her own app company. She thought copying Musk's eating habits would help her work longer hours and be more successful. What happened to her? She developed what we call exercise bulimia. She would eat one meal, then exercise for hours to burn off the calories. She told me she wanted to be optimized like Elon. She ended up in the hospital when her heart started having irregular rhythms. Maya felt sick. Are there others? 10 more cases in the past week. All young people. All trying to copy someone they admire. And Maya, this is just at one hospital. I'm hearing similar stories from colleagues across the country. Dr. Kim leaned forward. The problem is that when someone like Elon Musk talks casually about extreme eating habits, people think it's normal. They don't understand that what he's describing could be signs of serious health problems. What should people know about severe calorie restriction? It's dangerous, especially for young people. Your brain needs steady glucose to function properly. When you don't eat enough, you can't think clearly, your mood becomes unstable, and your body starts breaking down muscle for energy. Dr. Kim showed Maya some medical charts. Look at this data from eating disorder clinics. Admissions are up 40% since Musk's tweet. That's not a coincidence. Maya stared at the numbers. She had started this investigation thinking she was writing a story about one man's work habits. Now she realized she was documenting a public health crisis. Dr. Kim, what would you want people to know about Musk's eating patterns? That they're not normal, and they're not healthy. Forgetting to eat for days isn't optimization. It's a sign that someone needs help. When we celebrate these behaviors as focus or dedication, we're encouraging others to hurt themselves. After leaving UCLA, Maya drove home feeling overwhelmed. Her phone kept buzzing with notifications. More people were posting about and trying the Elon diet. More doctors were expressing concern. When she got home, Maya found 3 voicemails from journalists at other news organizations. Word was spreading that someone was investigating Musk's health habits. The first message was from a reporter at CNN. Maya, I heard you're working on a story about Elon Musk's eating patterns. We're interested in covering this angle too. Call me back. The second was from the Washington Post. We're seeing reports about young people copying Musk's extreme eating habits. If you have sources, we'd like to collaborate. The third message made Maya's hands shake. It was from a lawyer. Miss Chen, I represent certain parties who are concerned about your current investigation. Please call me to discuss. Maya sat down at her kitchen table and stared at her phone. The story was getting bigger than she could handle alone. Other news organizations wanted in. Lawyers were getting involved. Her laptop chimed with a new email from Jake. Maya, I'm getting calls from other reporters asking about your Musk story. How close are you to publishing? Maya typed back. I need 2 more days. This is becoming huge. She opened Twitter again to check the latest developments. What she saw made her feel like she was watching a disaster unfold in real time. A trending hashtag had appeared, Elon Eating Challenge. Thousands of people were posting photos of their single daily meals, videos of young entrepreneurs explaining how they were going to optimize their eating like Musk. But mixed in with the enthusiasm were more concerning posts. A college student, day 4 of eating like Elon. Feeling weak but determined. A startup founder, haven't been hungry in 2 days. Is this what productivity feels like? Maya found a video that made her stop scrolling. It was posted by Jake Thompson, a 24-year-old who had started a failed app company. He looked pale and thin, speaking directly to his phone camera. I've been following Elon's eating schedule for a week now. 1 meal every 24 hours. I thought it would help me focus on rebuilding my business after my last startup failed. Jake paused and rubbed his forehead. But guys, I'm not feeling good. I had a meeting with investors yesterday and I couldn't concentrate. My hands were shaking. I think I might need to stop. The video had hundreds of comments. Some people encouraging Jake to push through. others begging him to eat something. A few medical professionals warning that he needed to see a doctor immediately. Maya screenshot the video and added it to her growing file of evidence. She now had documentation of the direct harm being caused by Musk's casual tweet about his eating habits. Her phone buzzed with another text from the unknown number. The story is bigger than you think. Elon's eating problems go back further than anyone knows. Meet me tomorrow at Cafe Central on Market Street, 3 p.m. Come alone. A friend. Maya stared at the message. She should ignore it. She had enough material for her story already. She had medical experts explaining the dangers. She had documentation of young people hurting themselves trying to copy Musk. But she also knew that her investigation had revealed a pattern going back over 20 years. If there was more to discover about the roots of Musk's relationship with food, she needed to know. Maya looked at her notes, spread across her kitchen table. Photos from Diana showing Musk sleeping on factory floors. Tom's documentation of him collapsing during SpaceX failures. Rebecca's memories of him saying he'd forgotten how to be hungry. And now she had evidence that his casual tweet was inspiring others to follow the same dangerous path. Maya opened her laptop and started typing. What began as one tweet has become a public health crisis. Young people across the country are copying Elon Musk's extreme eating habits, leading to hospitalizations and eating disorders. She paused and looked at the mysterious text message again. Who was this person? And what else could they possibly tell her about Elon Musk's hidden struggle with food? Maya made a decision. She would meet this mysterious source tomorrow. But first, she would email her draft article to Jake as backup. If something happened to her, at least the story would survive. She typed a quick message to Jake. Attached is my first draft. If you don't hear from me by tomorrow night, publish it as is. This story is too important to bury. Maya hit send and looked at the clock. It was almost midnight. In 15 hours, she would meet a stranger who claimed to know secrets about one of the most powerful men in the world. She had no idea that tomorrow's meeting would reveal the darkest chapter of Musk's story yet. A chapter that would finally explain why his relationship with food had become so dangerously broken. Maya barely slept that night. She kept thinking about the mysterious text message and Jake Thompson's pale face in that video. When her alarm went off at 7 a.m., she was already awake, staring at the ceiling. She had 5 hours before meeting the unknown source. Maya decided to use that time to understand the medical science behind what she'd been investigating. She drove to UCSF Medical Center and met Dr. Amanda Foster, a researcher who studied how stress affects the brain and body. Maya had contacted her the day before, explaining that she was writing about extreme work habits and eating patterns. Dr. Foster's office was filled with brain scans and medical charts. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to see everything. You mentioned you're investigating someone with severe eating disruptions related to work stress. Dr. Foster asked. Yes, someone who regularly forgets to eat for days when under pressure, who has collapsed multiple times from not eating. I'm trying to understand how that's possible. Dr. Foster pulled up an image on her computer screen. It was a colorful scan of a human brain. This is what happens in your brain when you're under extreme stress for long periods, she explained, pointing to different colored areas. The part that controls hunger signals gets disrupted. Maya studied the scan. How does that work? Your hypothalamus is like the control center for basic needs. Hunger, thirst, sleep. When you're in constant fight or flight mode, stress hormones like cortisol flood your system. Over time, this can actually damage the pathways that tell you when you need food. Dr. Foster showed Maya another brain scan, this one with several dark areas. This is from someone who experienced chronic stress and malnutrition for years. See these darker regions? Those are areas where the hunger signals have been severely weakened. Maya felt her stomach drop. Is that damage permanent? Sometimes. The brain is adaptable, but severe malnutrition combined with chronic stress can create lasting changes. The person might literally lose the ability to recognize when they're hungry. Dr. Foster pulled out a thick medical textbook. There's another factor called executive function depletion. When you're making high-stakes decisions all day, every day, your brain gets exhausted. Simple tasks like remembering to eat become impossible. I've heard of people in high-pressure jobs forgetting meals occasionally, but what about someone who forgets to eat for 3 or 4 days straight? That's not normal forgetfulness. That suggests severe disruption of basic biological functions, usually caused by trauma, extreme stress, or underlying mental health conditions. Maya took notes rapidly. What kind of trauma? Any situation where someone's survival felt threatened for extended periods. Combat veterans experience this. Survivors of abuse. People who went through severe poverty or food insecurity. Dr. Foster leaned forward. Maya, can I ask who you're writing about? Because what you're describing sounds like someone who needs serious medical help. Maya hesitated. I can't name them yet. But what if this person has been living with these disrupted eating patterns for over 20 years? 20 years? Dr. Foster looked concerned. That would suggest the original trauma was severe, and it was never properly treated. The eating disruption became a coping mechanism that got reinforced over time. What do you mean by coping mechanism? Sometimes when people experience trauma around food or survival, they develop a sense of control by restricting their eating. It becomes a way to feel powerful in situations where they felt helpless. Dr. Foster showed Maya a research paper. We see this in people who experienced food insecurity as children, or who went through periods where they couldn't afford to eat regularly. Their relationship with food becomes damaged in ways that can last decades. Maya thought about everything she'd learned about Musk's early years. The struggles at PayPal, the near bankruptcy of Tesla, the SpaceX failures that almost destroyed the company. Dr. Foster, what happens to someone's judgment when they're chronically malnourished? It deteriorates significantly. The brain needs steady glucose to function properly. Without it, decision-making becomes impaired, mood becomes unstable, and the person might make increasingly risky choices. Dr. Foster pulled up another chart. Studies show that even mild hunger can reduce cognitive performance by 15%. Severe, chronic malnutrition can reduce it by 40%. But what if the person seems successful despite their eating problems? That's the paradox of high-functioning malnutrition. The person might achieve great things in the short term because they're operating in crisis mode constantly. But it's not sustainable. Eventually, the body and brain start breaking down. Maya looked at her notes. She had filled 8 pages with medical information that perfectly explained everything she'd witnessed in her investigation. Dr. Foster, is there anything else I should know about this condition? Yes. People with severe eating disruptions often don't realize how abnormal their patterns are. To them, forgetting to eat for days feels normal because it's been their reality for so long. Dr. Foster closed her textbook. And Maya, if you're writing about someone with this condition, please be careful how you present it. Don't make it sound glamorous or inspiring. What you're describing is a serious medical condition that can be life-threatening. After leaving UCSF, Maya drove to Johns Hopkins' San Francisco campus to meet with Dr. James Wu, a psychiatrist who specialized in treating high-achieving individuals with eating disorders. Dr. Wu's office was warm and comfortable, filled with soft lighting and plants. He was a man in his 40s with a calm presence that immediately put Maya at ease. I understand you're researching the connection between success and disordered eating, Dr. Wu asked. Yes, I'm trying to understand how someone can achieve incredible professional success while having such a damaged relationship with food. It's more common than people think, especially in high-pressure industries like tech and finance. What we call anorexia of success. Maya looked up from her notebook. Anorexia of success? It's not an official diagnosis, but it's a pattern I see frequently. High-achieving individuals who use food restriction as a way to maintain control and focus. They often don't recognize it as disordered eating because they're successful. Dr. Wu showed Maya a research paper he'd written. I studied 50 tech executives over 5 years. 32 of them showed signs of disordered eating patterns. Most had no idea their eating habits were abnormal. What kinds of patterns did you see? Skipping meals to work longer. Using hunger as a productivity tool. Viewing eating as a weakness or waste of time. Some went days without proper meals during high-stress periods. Maya thought about Musk's tweet, describing his eating habits as optimization. Dr. Wu, what happens when someone with these patterns talks publicly about their eating habits? That's extremely dangerous. When successful people normalize extreme behaviors, others copy them without understanding the risks. I've treated patients who developed eating disorders after reading about a CEO's productivity diet. Dr. Wu pulled out a folder of case studies. Can I share some anonymous examples? Maya nodded. Patient A was a startup founder who read an interview where a famous entrepreneur talked about eating one meal a day. She tried it and ended up in the emergency room after fainting during a board meeting. What was her condition? Severe electrolyte imbalance and dehydration. She'd been following the one meal a day pattern for 6 weeks, thinking it would make her more focused like her role model. Dr. Wu opened another file. Patient B was a college student studying computer science. He idolized a tech billionaire and tried to copy everything about his lifestyle, including eating patterns described in interviews. What happened? He developed what we call achievement anorexia. He believed that suffering and restriction would make him more successful. He lost 30 pounds in 2 months and had to be hospitalized when his heart started having problems. Maya felt sick thinking about Jake Thompson's video and all the people posting about the Elon eating challenge. Dr. Wu, how do you treat people with these patterns? Very carefully. These individuals often resist treatment because they believe their eating patterns contribute to their success. They're terrified that eating normally will make them less productive or focused. Dr. Wu leaned forward. Maya, the most important thing for people to understand is that extreme eating patterns aren't a sign of strength or focus. They're a sign that someone needs help. What would you want the public to know about this issue? That success doesn't require self-destruction. Many of the most creative and productive people throughout history ate regular, healthy meals. The idea that suffering enhances performance is a dangerous myth. After leaving Johns Hopkins, Maya sat in her car, reading her notes. She now understood the medical science behind everything she'd witnessed in her investigation. Elon Musk's eating patterns weren't optimization or focus. They were symptoms of trauma and chronic stress that had damaged his brain's ability to recognize hunger. His casual tweet about these patterns was inspiring others to develop the same dangerous relationship with food. Maya looked at the time. It was 2:30 p.m. In 30 minutes, she would meet the mysterious source who claimed to know even more about Musk's story. She drove to Cafe Central on Market Street, her mind spinning with medical terminology and case studies. She now had the scientific framework to understand Musk's behavior, but she still didn't know what had originally caused his relationship with food to become so severely damaged. That was about to change. Maya arrived at Cafe Central 5 minutes early. The coffee shop was busy with afternoon customers, but she found a quiet table in the corner and ordered tea. Her hands were shaking as she waited. At exactly 3 p.m., a woman approached her table. She was in her 60s, with silver hair and intelligent eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She wore an expensive business suit and carried herself with quiet confidence. "Maya Chen?" the woman asked. "Yes. Are you the person who's been texting me?" The woman sat down without answering. She looked around the cafe carefully, then leaned forward and spoke quietly. "My name is Jennifer Walsh. I was a senior executive at Tesla from 2016 to 2020. I helped run the company during some of its most difficult years." Maya's heart started beating faster. She had heard of Jennifer Walsh. The woman had been one of Tesla's most powerful executives before leaving suddenly in 20. "You said you had information about Elon's health?" Jennifer nodded slowly. "I've been following your investigation through mutual friends. What you've uncovered about Elon's eating habits is accurate, but it's not the whole story." Maya opened her notebook. "What don't I know?" In 2018, during the worst of Tesla's production problems, several of us became genuinely worried that Elon was going to die. Maya stopped writing. Die? He wasn't just skipping meals occasionally. He was in a full psychological crisis. Working 100-hour weeks, sleeping 2 hours a night, going days without eating anything but coffee and energy drinks. Jennifer paused and looked out the window. "I'd been in corporate leadership for 25 years. I'd seen executives work themselves to exhaustion before. But I'd never seen anything like what Elon was doing to himself." "What exactly did you observe?" "In July 2018, I found him in his office at 4 a.m., staring at production reports. He looked like he hadn't eaten or showered in days. When I asked if he was okay, he said he couldn't remember the last time he felt hungry." Jennifer pulled out her phone and showed Maya a photo. It was Elon Musk in what looked like a Tesla conference room, but he appeared drastically thin and pale. "I took this picture during a board meeting in August 2018. Look at his face. Look at his hands. That's not normal weight loss from being busy. That's someone whose body is consuming itself." Maya stared at the photo. Musk's cheekbones were sharp, his eyes sunken, his hands looked skeletal. Did anyone try to help him? That's why I wanted to meet with you. We tried to organize what we called a wellness intervention. Maya looked up from her notebook. An intervention? Antonio Gracias, who was on Tesla's board, initiated it. He'd noticed Elon's declining condition during board meetings. Antonio had experience with family addiction interventions, and he said Elon's behavior with food and work looked like addiction patterns. Jennifer leaned forward. We spent weeks planning it. Antonio, myself, J.B. Strabel from engineering, and Dr. Sarah Chen, a corporate wellness expert we hired. What was the plan? We were going to present Elon with medical data showing how his eating and sleep patterns were affecting his decision-making ability. We had charts showing the correlation between his worst business decisions and his periods of not eating. Jennifer pulled out a folder from her purse. I still have some of the materials we prepared. She showed Maya several graphs and medical reports. One chart showed Tesla's stock price fluctuations compared to reports of Musk's public appearances and behavior. Another showed a timeline of his erratic tweets compared to production stress periods. Look at this pattern. Jennifer pointed to a graph. Every time Elon went more than 2 days without proper meals, Tesla's stock would drop within a week. His judgment was clearly impaired when he wasn't eating. Maya studied the charts. The correlation was striking and clear. When were you planning to do this intervention? Jennifer's face fell. The week of August 6, 2018. We had everything ready. Dr. Chen flew in from New York. Antonio cleared his schedule. We booked a private conference room. What happened? On August 7th, Elon sent that infamous tweet about taking Tesla private at $420 a share and having funding secured. Maya remembered that incident. It had caused a massive SEC investigation and nearly destroyed Musk's career. So, you never did the intervention? How could we? The SEC launched an investigation the next day. Lawyers were everywhere. The media was in a frenzy. Our planned intervention became impossible. Jennifer closed the folder. Within a week, Elon was fighting for his life professionally. The intervention we'd planned to save his health became irrelevant compared to saving his company's. Do you think the tweet was related to his eating problems? Dr. Chen thought so. She said the $420 tweet had all the characteristics of a decision made by someone with severely impaired judgment from malnutrition and sleep deprivation. Maya wrote quickly. What happened after that? The SEC investigation consumed everything. Elon had to step down as Tesla's chairman. He barely avoided criminal charges. The stress got even worse, which made his eating problems worse. Jennifer rubbed her temples. By September 2018, I was genuinely afraid we were going to find him dead in his office one morning. Did you try to help him after the SEC problems were resolved? We tried. In early 2019, Antonio and I approached him about hiring a personal wellness coach, someone who could help him establish basic routines for eating and sleeping. What did Elon say? He got angry. Really angry. He said we were trying to sabotage his productivity. He accused us of not understanding what it takes to change the world. Jennifer looked sad. That's when I realized how deep his problems were. He genuinely believed that not eating was making him more successful. The idea of eating regular meals felt like weakness to him. Maya thought about Dr. Wu's comments about achievement anorexia. Jennifer, do you know what originally caused Elon's relationship with food to become so damaged? Jennifer was quiet for a long moment. That's not my story to tell, but I can give you the name of someone who might know. She wrote something on a napkin and slid it across the table. Dr. Marcus Williams was Elon's personal chef from 2019 to 2022. If anyone understood the full extent of Elon's eating problems, it would be him. Maya looked at the name and phone number. Will he talk to me? I don't know. Marcus signed strict privacy agreements when he worked for Elon. But he left Tesla suddenly in 2022, and I heard he was upset about something. Jennifer stood up to leave. Maya, there's something else you should know. The intervention we planned in 2018 included recommendations from 3 different doctors. They all said the same thing. What? That Elon's eating patterns weren't just unhealthy habits. They were symptoms of unresolved trauma. Something that happened years before Tesla. Maybe even before PayPal. Jennifer put on her jacket. If you really want to understand why Elon's relationship with food became so broken, you need to find out what happened to him before he became famous. After Jennifer left, Maya sat alone with her tea and her notes. She now understood that Musk's eating problem were even worse than she'd imagined, and that people who cared about him had tried to help but been prevented by external crises. She looked at the napkin with Dr. Marcus Williams' phone number. A personal chef who worked for Musk for 3 years would have seen everything. But would he be willing to break his privacy agreements to talk to a journalist? Maya's phone buzzed with a text from Jake. Other news outlets are asking about your Musk story. How much longer do you need? She typed back. Maybe one more interview. This is bigger than we thought. Maya stared at Marcus Williams' phone number. She had come this far in her investigation. She couldn't stop now, not when she was so close to understanding the full truth. She dialed the number. It rang 4 times before someone answered. Hello? A man's voice, cautious. Hi. Is this Dr. Marcus Williams? My name is Maya Chen. I'm a journalist investigating Elon Musk's health and eating habits. Jennifer Walsh said you might be willing to talk. There was a long pause. Jennifer gave you my number? Yes. I'm writing about the public health impact of Elon's recent tweet about eating 1 meal a day. I think people need to understand the real story behind his eating patterns. Another pause. I can't talk on the phone about this. But if you're really trying to help people understand the dangers of copying Elon's habits, maybe we should meet. I can drive anywhere you want. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Ghirardelli Square in San Francisco, near the chocolate shop. I'll be wearing a blue baseball cap. How will I recognize you? I'll recognize you. I've been following your investigation, Maya. What you're doing is important. There are things about Elon's relationship with food that the public needs to know. The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone. Tomorrow she would meet the man who had spent 3 years trying to feed one of the most powerful people in the world. A man who had apparently left his job suddenly upset about something he'd witnessed. Maya had a feeling that tomorrow's meeting would finally reveal the deepest secret behind Elon Musk's broken relationship with food. Maya woke up at 5 a.m., unable to sleep. Her meeting with Dr. Marcus Williams wasn't until 2 p.m., but she couldn't stop thinking about Jennifer's warning that Musk's eating problems came from unresolved trauma. She made coffee and opened her laptop to check the latest developments with the Elon Eating Challenge. What she found made her stomach drop. The hashtag had exploded overnight. Thousands of new posts from people trying to copy Musk's eating habits. But mix in with the enthusiasm were increasingly concerning updates. A college student from Northwestern University had posted a video at 3 a.m. Day 6 of eating like Elon. Haven't felt hungry in 2 days. Is this normal? My roommate says I look pale but I feel focused. Another post from a startup founder in Austin. 1 meal a day for 8 days straight. Lost 12 pounds. Investors meeting went great today. Maybe Elon's onto something? But the post that scared Maya most was from Jake Thompson, the 24-year-old she'd seen in a video before. His latest update was just a photo of himself looking gaunt and exhausted, with the caption, Day 9, can't concentrate anymore. But Elon did this for months, so I can too. Maya screenshot everything and added it to her growing file of evidence. Then she decided to take action. She called Harvard Student Health Services, knowing they dealt with eating disorders on college campuses. This is Dr. Michael Chen, a man's voice answered. Dr. Chen, my name is Maya Chen, no relation. I'm a journalist investigating the health impact of Elon Musk's recent tweet about eating 1 meal a day. Are you seeing students trying to copy his eating pattern? Are you kidding me? We've had 15 students come in this week alone, all of them mentioning Musk's optimization approach. Maya's heart sank. What kind of symptoms are they showing? Classic malnutrition, dizziness, fatigue, inability to concentrate. 3 of them fainted during exams. 1 student was found unconscious in the library. Have any been hospitalized? 2 so far. Both computer science majors who said they were trying to think like Elon Musk. Dr. Chen's voice got more frustrated. These are brilliant kids who think starving themselves will make them more successful. It's the most dangerous trend I've seen in my 20 years here. Maya took notes quickly. What would you want people to know about this? That copying extreme eating patterns is incredibly dangerous, especially for young people. The brain needs steady nutrition to function. These students are literally damaging their ability to think clearly. After hanging up, Maya called 3 other universities. MIT reported 8 students seeking help for eating problems related to Elon Musk. Stanford had 11 cases. UC Berkeley had 12. Maya's phone rang while she was taking notes. It was an unknown number. Maya Chen, this is Samantha Rodriguez. I got your number from a friend at MIT. I heard you're writing about people copying Elon Musk's eating habits. Yes, I am. Are you okay to talk? I'm in the hospital right now, Mass General in Boston. I want to tell you what happened to me. Maya grabbed her recorder. Can I record this for my article? Please do. People need to know how dangerous this is. Maya hit record. Tell me what happened, Samantha. I'm a sophomore at MIT studying computer science. I've looked up to Elon Musk since high school. When I saw his tweet about eating 1 meal a day, I thought it was genius. Samantha's voice was weak but determined. I figured if it worked for him, it would work for me. I'm trying to start my own AI company, and I wanted to be just as focused and productive. What did you do? I started eating 1 meal every 24 hours, just like Elon said he did at PayPal. For the first few days, I felt amazing. Really focused, like I was unlocking some secret to success. Maya wrote quickly. When did things change? Around day 5. I started getting dizzy during lectures. My roommate said I was acting weird, but I thought she was just jealous of my productivity. What happened next? Day 8 was my final exam for advanced algorithms. I was so excited because I'd been studying for 18 hours straight with just coffee and 1 small meal. I thought I was going to ace it. Samantha paused, and Maya could hear machines beeping in the background. I walked into the exam room and sat down. I remember looking at the first question, but the words were blurry. Then everything went black. You fainted during the exam. I collapsed right at my desk. My professor called 911. When I woke up in the ambulance, the paramedic said my blood sugar was dangerously low. Maya felt sick. What did the doctors tell you? That I was in the early stages of starvation. My body was starting to break down muscle tissue for energy. If I'd continued for another week, I could have had permanent heart damage. How do you feel about Musk's tweet now? Samantha was quiet for a moment. I'm angry, really angry. He has millions of followers, young people who want to be like him. When he talks about extreme eating habits like they're normal, people get hurt. What would you want other students to know? That this isn't optimization, it's not a life hack. It's dangerous. I lost 15 pounds in 8 days. My grades suffered because I couldn't think clearly. I almost ruined my health trying to copy someone I admired. After the call ended, Maya sat staring at her notes. Samantha was just one person, but her story resonated thousands of others who were copying Musk's dangerous patterns. Maya decided to call Dr. Rachel Kim at UCLA to get an update on how many patients she was seeing. Maya, thank God you called, Dr. Kim said. This situation is getting worse every day. How many new patients have you seen? 23 since we talked. All mentioning Elon Musk's eating advice. And Maya, I'm getting calls from colleagues across the country reporting similar cases. What's the worst case you've seen? A 19-year-old who ended up in the ICU yesterday. She'd been eating 1 meal every 36 hours for 2 weeks, thinking it would help her study better. Her heart went into an irregular rhythm. Maya closed her eyes. Is she okay? She'll recover. But it was touch and go for a while. Her parents are devastated. They had no idea she was copying some billionaire's eating habits. Dr. Kim, what can be done to stop this trend? Someone needs to tell the truth about what Musk's eating patterns really represent. They're not success strategies. They're symptoms of serious health problems. After hanging up, Maya looked at the time. It was noon. She had 2 hours before meeting Dr. Marcus Williams, but first she wanted to check on Jake Thompson, the young entrepreneur whose videos had worried her. She found Jake's social media profiles and saw his most recent post from that morning. It was just a photo of an empty plate with the caption, Day 10. Elon, if you're reading this, how did you do it? I can barely stand up. Maya immediately sent Jake a direct message. Hi Jake. I'm a journalist writing about people copying Elon Musk's eating habits. I'm worried about your recent posts. Are you okay? Do you need help? Jake responded within minutes. I'm not okay, but Elon did this for months during PayPal. If he could handle it, I should be able to. Maya typed back, Jake, what you're doing is dangerous. Elon's eating patterns weren't healthy. They were symptoms of serious problems. Please eat something and consider seeing a doctor. But he's the most successful entrepreneur in the world. His methods must work. Maya stared at Jake's message. Here was a young person literally starving himself because he believed copying Musk's damaged relationship with food would make him successful. She typed, Jake, I've spent weeks investigating Elon's eating habits. Multiple people who worked with him told me he collapsed from not eating. He was hospitalized. His own employees were afraid he would die. This isn't a success strategy. It's a medical emergency waiting to happen. Jake didn't respond for several minutes. Then, really? He was hospitalized? Yes. And you will be too if you keep this up. Please eat something and call a doctor. Okay. Maybe you're right. I do feel pretty terrible. Maya felt a small sense of relief. Maybe she'd prevented one person from seriously hurting himself. She gathered her notes and prepared to drive to Ghirardelli Square. In 2 hours, she would meet the man who had spent 3 years trying to feed Elon Musk, a man who had apparently left his job upset about something he'd witnessed. Maya had documented the medical science behind Musk's eating problems. She'd shown how his casual tweet was inspiring dangerous copycat behavior. She'd revealed the failed intervention attempts by people who cared about him. But she still didn't know the original source of Musk's broken relationship with food. What trauma from his past had created these destructive patterns? Dr. Marcus Williams was her last hope of finding the answer to that question. Maya drove toward San Francisco, thinking about Samantha in her hospital bed and Jake Thompson's gaunt face in his videos. This story wasn't just about one billionaire's health habits anymore. It was about preventing a public health crisis that was already hurting young people across the country. Maya arrived at Ghirardelli Square 15 minutes early. The tourist area was busy with families eating ice cream and browsing chocolate shops. She found a bench near the entrance and watched for a man in a blue baseball cap. At exactly 2 p.m., she saw him. Dr. Marcus Williams was a tall, thin man in his 50s with kind eyes and calloused hands. He approached her cautiously. Maya Chen? He asked quietly. Dr. Williams, thank you for meeting me. He looked around nervously before sitting down. Call me Marcus. And we can't talk here. Too many people. Follow me. Marcus led Maya down a quiet side street to a small cafe that looked nearly empty. They sat in a corner booth, far from other customers. I've been following your investigation, Marcus said quietly. Jennifer Walsh told me you're trying to understand the real story behind Elon's eating habits. Yes. I'm hoping you can help me understand what you witnessed while working for him. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. He stared at his coffee cup like he was deciding something important. I signed agreements when I worked for Elon. Legal documents saying I wouldn't talk about his private life. But after I saw his tweet the other night and all these young people copying him, I can't stay quiet anymore. Maya opened her notebook. What did you see while working as his chef? I wasn't just a chef. I was more like a medical nutritionist. Elon hired me in 2019 because his assistant was worried he was going to die from not eating. Marcus leaned forward. My job wasn't to cook fancy meals. It was to keep Elon alive. Maya felt her pulse quicken. What do you mean? When I started working for him, Elon would go 3 or 4 days without eating anything but coffee and energy drinks. His weight had dropped to dangerous levels. His hands shook during meetings. His skin was gray. Marcus pulled out his phone and showed Maya a photo. It was taken in what looked like Musk's office, showing several untouched meals on a side table. I took this picture on my 3rd day working for him. I had prepared 6 different meals over 2 days, hoping something would appeal to him. None of them were touched. Maya stared at the photo. Beautiful, healthy meals sitting there spoiling. How did you get him to eat? I had to become a detective. I studied his schedule, his moods, his work patterns. I learned that he was slightly more likely to eat if food was liquid, so I made protein smoothies he could drink while working. Marcus showed Maya another photo. This one showed a kitchen counter covered with bottles of what looked like nutritional drinks. I made smoothies with everything his body needed. Protein, vitamins, healthy fats. I'd hide vegetables in fruit smoothies. Anything to get calories into him. Did it work? Sometimes. On good days, he'd drink 2 or 3 smoothies. On bad days, he'd ignore them completely. Marcus's voice got quieter. The worst was during Tesla's production pushes. Elon would work for 36 hours straight with nothing but coffee. I'd find him passed out at his desk. Maya looked up from her notes. "You found him unconscious?" "3 times that I know of. Maybe more when I wasn't there. The first time was in October 2019. I came to his office to bring him lunch and found him collapsed in his chair." "What did you do?" "I called 911, but Elon woke up before the paramedics arrived. He was furious that I'd called for help. He made me promise never to do it again." Marcus showed Maya another photo on his phone. This one was time-stamped 3:17 a.m. and showed Musk lying on a couch in his office, looking pale and thin. "I took this picture because I was documenting his condition for his doctor. Dr. Peterson had asked me to keep track of Elon's eating and sleeping patterns. He had a doctor monitoring him. Dr. Peterson was worried about long-term damage from chronic malnutrition. He ran blood tests every month. Elon's vitamin levels were always dangerously low." Marcus leaned back in his seat. "Maya, what you need to understand is that Elon's relationship with food wasn't normal. Forgetfulness. It was like he was afraid of eating. Afraid. He would look at food like it was an enemy. Like eating was giving up control or admitting weakness. I'd make his favorite meals from childhood, and he'd just stare at them with this expression of disgust, fear. I couldn't tell." Maya wrote quickly. "Did he ever talk about why eating was so difficult for him?" Marcus was quiet for a long time. "Only once. In December 2021. He'd been working on some SpaceX problem for 40 hours straight. I found him in his kitchen at 2 a.m., standing in front of the refrigerator. What happened? He was just staring at the food inside, not moving. I asked if he wanted me to make him something. He said, 'Marcus, sometimes I look at food and all I can think about is not having any.'" Maya stopped writing. "What did he mean?" "I asked him the same thing. He said, 'When I was young, there were times when we didn't have enough food. Now when I see food, part of me thinks I should save it for when there's nothing.'" Maya felt a chill. He grew up with food insecurity. That's what it sounded like. But he never said more about it. The next day, he acted like the conversation never happened. Marcus pulled out another photo. This one showed Musk sitting alone at a large dining table with an elaborate meal in front of him, completely untouched. "I took this during the holidays in 2021. His family was visiting, and I'd prepared this amazing dinner. Everyone else ate, but Elon just sat there, staring at his plate." "Did his family say anything?" "His brother Kimball tried to get him to eat, but Elon got angry and left the table. Later that night, I found the plate exactly as I'd left it." Maya thought about everything she'd learned from the medical experts about trauma and eating disorders. "Marcus, did you ever think Elon needed professional help for his eating problems?" "Every day. I talked to Dr. Peterson about it several times. We both thought Elon showed signs of a serious eating disorder connected to childhood trauma." "Did anyone try to get him treatment?" Dr. Peterson recommended a specialist who worked with eating disorders, but Elon refused to see them. He said therapy was a waste of time, and his eating habits were just efficiency. Marcus finished his coffee. "That's why his tweet the other night scared me so much. He's telling millions of people that starving yourself is optimization, when really it's a sign of deep psychological damage." "Is there anything else you think people should know?" Marcus nodded. "The saddest thing was watching him around his children. When they'd visit, he'd try to eat normal meals with them, but you could see how hard it was for him. He'd take a few bites and then make excuses to leave the table." "His eating problems affected his relationship with his kids?" "I think so. Kids notice when adults act strange around food. His youngest would ask me why their dad didn't eat dinner with them." Maya felt tears forming in her eyes. The story had become more tragic than she'd imagined. "Marcus, why did you leave Tesla in Marcus's face changed. He looked uncomfortable. There was an incident in March 2022. Elon had been working on some Twitter acquisition details. He'd been at his desk for almost 2 days straight with nothing but coffee. "What happened?" "I found him on the floor of his office. He'd collapsed again, but this time he was unconscious for several minutes. I was sure he was having a medical emergency." "Did you call for help?" "I called 911 despite his previous orders not to. The paramedics came and checked him out. They said his blood pressure was dangerously low, and he was severely dehydrated." "How did Elon react?" Marcus looked sad. "He fired me the next day. said I'd betrayed his trust by calling paramedics. He told me I was being dramatic and that he was fine. That's why you left. I couldn't watch him slowly kill himself anymore. And I couldn't stand by while he told the world that his eating patterns were something to copy. Marcus stood up to leave. Maya, there's something else you should know. The childhood food insecurity Elon mentioned. I think it was worse than he let on. What do you mean? Once when he was really exhausted, he said something about the hungry year. He said it was before PayPal, before he was successful. But he never explained what it meant. Maya's heart started racing. The hungry year? That's what he called it. Like it was a specific period when he didn't have enough to eat. But every time I tried to ask about it, he'd change the subject. Marcus walked Maya to her car. If you really want to understand why Elon's relationship with food is so broken, you need to find out what happened during that hungry year. As Maya drove home, she thought about everything Marcus had revealed. Musk's eating problems weren't just about being busy or focused. They were connected to childhood trauma and food insecurity. But what was the hungry year? Marcus had mentioned. When did it happen? And what was so traumatic about that period that it had damaged Musk's relationship with food for decades? Maya realized she was close to uncovering the deepest secret behind Elon Musk's success and the hidden cost that came with it. She had one more lead to follow. Tomorrow, she would try to piece together what happened during Musk's mysterious hungry year. Maya couldn't sleep that night. Marcus Williams' words kept echoing in her mind. The hungry year. She had spent 2 weeks investigating Elon Musk's eating habits. But this felt like the missing piece that would explain everything. At 6 a.m., she gave up trying to sleep and made coffee. She opened her laptop and started searching for information about Musk's life before PayPal. Most articles focused on his early companies or his move to the United States. But Maya was looking for something more personal. She found an old interview from 2008 where Musk briefly mentioned his early struggles in America. When I first moved to the US, I had very little money. There were times when I wondered if I'd made a mistake leaving South Africa. Maya kept searching and found court documents from a lawsuit between Musk's parents from the 19th. The papers were mostly about business matters, but one line caught her attention. During the period 1995-1996, Elon received minimal financial support and was reportedly struggling to afford basic necessities. 1995-1996. Maya wrote down the dates. That would have been when Musk was in his early 20s, trying to start his first company in California. She found another clue in an old magazine article from 1999. A small quote buried in a story about young entrepreneurs. Musk admits that his first year in Silicon Valley was brutal, and that he learned what real hunger felt like. Real hunger. Maya's heart started racing. She was getting closer to understanding what Marcus had meant by the hungry year. Her phone rang. It was Jake, her editor. Maya, I need that story today. Other outlets are sniffing around this Musk health angle. We need to publish before someone else beats us to it. Jake, I think I'm close to finding the most important part. Give me until tonight. You've been saying that for 2 weeks. What could possibly be more important than what you already have? Maya looked at her notes spread across her kitchen table. Stories of Musk collapsing from not eating. Medical experts explaining the dangers. Young people in hospitals trying to copy him. I think I know what originally caused his eating problems. Something from before he was successful. Jake was quiet for a moment. Fine. You have until 6 p.m. But Maya, this better be worth it. Maya spent the morning making phone calls. She contacted journalists who had covered Musk in the late 1990s. Most didn't remember specific details, but one reporter from the San Jose Mercury News had an interesting memory. I remember meeting Elon in 1995 or 1996, the reporter said. He was trying to start some kind of internet company. But what stuck with me was how thin he was, skinnier than anyone should be. I asked if he was eating enough, and he just laughed it off. Maya called university libraries looking for old newspaper archives from 1995-1996. She found a few mentions of Musk's early company, Zip2, but nothing about his personal struggles. Then she remembered something. During her interview with Rebecca Torres, Musk's former PayPal assistant, Rebecca had mentioned that she'd stayed in touch with Justine Musk, Elon's first wife. Maya found Justine Musk's contact information through her literary agent. She sent a careful email explaining her investigation and asking if Justine would be willing to talk about Elon's early struggles with food. 3 hours later, Justine replied, "I saw Elon's tweet about eating 1 meal a day. I've been worried someone would write about this. We should talk. Can you call me at 2 p.m.?" At exactly 2 p.m., Maya dialed Justine's number. "Maya, thank you for reaching out about this. I've been watching the reaction to Elon's tweet, and I'm concerned. Justine, I'm trying to understand the origins of Elon's relationship with food. Several sources mention something called the Hungry Year." There was a long pause. I wondered if someone would eventually ask about that. Maya's heart started pounding. You know what they were referring to? 1995 to 1996. Elon's first year trying to start Zip2 in Palo Alto. It was difficult. Can you tell me what happened? Justine was quiet for a moment. Elon had very little money when he started the company. He was sleeping on the office floor, sharing a tiny apartment with his brother Kimball. Did he have trouble affording food? Trouble doesn't begin to describe it. There were weeks when Elon would eat 1 meal every 2 days. Sometimes less. Maya felt sick. He was starving, not by choice initially. He was putting every dollar into the company. But Maya, what scared me was that he seemed to take pride in it. Like not eating proved how dedicated he was. Justine's voice got quieter. I met him near the end of that period in late 1996. He weighed maybe 140 pounds. For someone his height, that was dangerously underweight. What was his attitude toward food then? Strange. Even after Zip2 started making money and he could afford to eat, he would still skip meals. Like he'd forgotten how to have a normal relationship with food. Maya wrote quickly. Did he ever talk about why he continued those patterns? Once, when we were dating, he told me that not eating made him feel powerful. Like he could control something when everything else in his life felt chaotic. Justine, do you think that year of food insecurity affected him long-term? Absolutely. Even when we were married and had plenty of money, Elon would sometimes go days without eating during stressful periods. It was like his brain had learned to associate not eating with survival and success. Maya thought about everything the medical experts had told her about trauma and eating disorders. Did you ever try to get him help? I tried. But Elon saw his eating patterns as a competitive advantage, not a problem. He would say things like hunger keeps me sharp, or eating is inefficient. Justine paused. Maya, what you need to understand is that the year of real hunger in 1995-1996 wasn't just about not having money for food. It created a psychological pattern that lasted decades. What do you mean? Elon learned that he could survive extreme deprivation. But more than that, he learned to see deprivation as a sign of strength and focus. That lesson became part of how he approached everything. Work, relationships, his own health. Maya felt like pieces of a puzzle were finally clicking together. So when he tweets about eating 1 meal a day being optimization, he really believes it? Yes, because for him it worked. Not eating helped him survive his hardest year and build his first successful company. But Maya, what worked for a desperate 24-year-old trying to survive is dangerous advice for millions of followers. Justine, is there anything else about that period that people should know? The medical consequences were serious even then. Elon ended up in the emergency room twice during 1996. Once for fainting, once for what doctors said was severe malnutrition. Maya's pen stopped moving. He was hospitalized for malnutrition? Twice. But both times, as soon as he was stable, he'd go right back to not eating regularly. It was like he'd convinced himself that suffering was the price of success. Maya looked at her notes. She finally had the complete story. Musk's casual tweet about eating 1 meal a day wasn't just a health tip from a successful entrepreneur. It was the public expression of a damaged relationship with food that started during a year of genuine hunger and deprivation. Justine, why are you willing to talk about this now? Because I've seen the posts from young people trying to copy Elon's eating habits. I know what real malnutrition looks like, and I'm terrified that some college student is going to seriously hurt themselves trying to be like him. After hanging up with Justine, Maya sat staring at her complete investigation. She now understood the full story. In 1995-1996, a young Elon Musk had nearly starved while trying to build his first company. The experience was so traumatic that it permanently damaged his relationship with food. For over 25 years, he had continued patterns of extreme food restriction that started as desperate necessity. His recent tweet normalizing one meal a day wasn't optimization advice. It was a trauma response that had become so ingrained he didn't recognize it as abnormal. And now, millions of young people were copying those patterns, not knowing they were replicating behaviors born from genuine hunger and desperation. Maya opened her laptop and began typing her final article. Elon Musk's recent tweet about living on one meal a day has inspired thousands of young people to copy his eating habits. But the true story behind those patterns reveals a darker truth about the hidden cost of success. She wrote about the medical experts' warnings, the hospitalized students, and the executives who had tried to help Musk. She described the failed intervention and the personal chef who was fired for calling paramedics. But most importantly, she revealed the origin of it all. A young man's desperate year of genuine hunger that had created patterns lasting decades. At 5:45 p.m., Maya hit send. Her investigation was complete. She had uncovered the secret behind Elon Musk's broken relationship with food. And hopefully, her story would prevent others from following the same dangerous path. Within minutes, Jake called. "Maya, this is incredible. We're publishing tonight." As Maya closed her laptop, she thought about all the young people she'd interviewed. Samantha in her hospital bed. Jake Thompson's gaunt face in his videos. Dr. Kim's patients who thought starvation would make them successful. Maybe now they would understand that what they were copying wasn't optimization. It was the lasting damage from a year when one of the world's most successful entrepreneurs had learned to survive on almost nothing. The hungry year had ended in 1996. But its effects had lasted over 25 years and almost created a public health crisis in 20. Maya's story would make sure that crisis didn't claim any more victims. And that was the end of Maya's incredible journey to uncover the truth behind Elon Musk's eating habits. What started as one viral tweet became a story about hidden trauma, dangerous trends, and the real cost of success. Maya's investigation not only revealed the secret behind one of the world's most powerful men, but also helped save countless young people from copying his harmful patterns. Sometimes the most important stories are the ones that show us the human side behind the headlines. We'd love to know, where are you listening from today? Drop your location in the comments below. If this story opened your eyes to the hidden struggles behind success, please hit that like button and subscribe to a channel for more fascinating true stories that matter. We bring you deep investigations and untold tales every week. Most importantly, share this video with your friends and family. Stories like Maya's help spread awareness about mental health, eating disorders, and the dangers of copying extreme behaviors just because successful people do them. Together, we can spread both kindness and knowledge. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Until next time, remember, sometimes the most successful people need our understanding, not our imitation.